that's really kind of the general philosophy: being authentic and genuine, education, experimentation mindset, and figuring out what it is your audience can learn from you.
Hey everyone, it's John Adams. Welcome back to the Process Lab podcast, the show where we tackle common business problems and provide insight for operational excellence. Today on the show, we'll be joined by Colin Hirdman. Colin, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you so much, John, for having me. Really excited about the conversation we're about to have.
Excellent. And Colin's going to be speaking about LinkedIn and how to really maximize and leverage it for your sales. So with that, Colin, why don't you give some background on yourself and
Sure.
we'll start.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, which, was going on being an entrepreneur 30 years. And I started my first company a week after I graduated from college, and never took a business accounting or marketing class. And I graduated with a criminal justice degree, which I obviously never used. And I just had that first business for about a decade, ended up selling that. And then in 2007, started Monkey Island Ventures with my business partners, Josh and Zach. We've all known each other since we were about 5 years old. And Monkey Island is named after a park we used to play at when we were kids. And, we've launched, a bunch of products, probably about 10 different SaaS products over the years. We have.
Sorry. Just it's really interesting. You went for criminal justice, so you're probably pursuing something fairly traditional, maybe even go to law school or something like that. And I know so many people now are just so afraid to take the plunge and get into entrepreneurship rather than try and do something that seems more predictable.
Sure.
Do you have any advice or any thoughts just on that for people graduating?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, for anyone graduating, I would, assume, you probably have some school debt, but hopefully not a lot of other debt or kind of necessities that need to get paid every single month, like, mortgages and car payments and all those things. You could probably live pretty frugally. I think that's an ideal time to, go ahead and try starting, building a business. I think for anyone that is older, like myself, there's still nothing wrong with starting a business on the side, especially if it's something that, you're passionate about, that you enjoy doing. So age has nothing to do with, getting into entrepreneurship or success. But, what I would say around, starting a business and kind of the risk that is perceived. I remember going to a conference, and they had these different CEOs talking, and one of the CEOs took companies from like 10 million to 50 million or whatever, and then would kind of work himself out of a job. And he said he never really understood kind of the risk perception that so many people have about starting their own business, because he says if you go and work for someone else, you get hired, well, they can fire you anytime they want. Whereas if you're building a business and you're generating revenue from a number of different customers, if you start to lose customers, or if things start to change in your industry or whatnot, usually you start to notice that way ahead of time, and it gives you time to make changes to your business and mitigate that risk. And so he always felt like that was something put in people's heads where stopped a lot of people from becoming entrepreneurs. And I think I would agree with that really the risk at the end of the day is just, ensuring that you have a profitable business that makes money, that is truly providing a service or providing a product that people want. But beyond that, it's about just the grind of building the business day in and day out. So, anyway, that's what I would say. I hope more people. We need more entrepreneurs. The world needs more entrepreneurs. So if you're listening and you're an aspiring, get out there, start building. But Josh, Zach, and I, have built SaaS products. We have two, well-established service-based businesses, one in digital marketing, one in software development. And then I had been doing a lot of kind of growth hacking through cold email and LinkedIn over the last 7 years. And early last year, I went to my business partners and said, I think I could build a real business out of this LinkedIn process and automation that I had built out. And that's how Rainmaker was born. And it's really a kind of a productized service where, I'll be sharing with you and your audience today, what process I think you should adopt in order to use LinkedIn as a way to grow your network, grow your leads, and grow your sales. So I want LinkedIn to be a revenue driver for my company. And I know that the clients I work with want that as well. And so we'll talk about very specific ways in which you can approach LinkedIn and not only add to the ecosystem, but get the benefit of generating leads and sales in the ways that I'll talk about. So I'll pause there and see if you have any other questions or thoughts, and then I can kind of go into how I would tell everyone to start using LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, let's get right into it. I have some questions, but I suspect some of them will be answered by your
sure
by your info.
Yeah, no, sounds great. So, I think of LinkedIn kind of in three layers. The top layer is philosophy. The middle layer is around audience building. And then the bottom layer is around strategy. So activating the audience. So when it comes to philosophy, there's three things. One is, you have to be authentic and genuine on LinkedIn. I think most people do a good job of that. LinkedIn's not a toxic place. Most people represent themselves and the brands that they work at really well. So that's kind of just table stakes. The second thing is mindset. First off, you have to have an educational mindset because nobody wants to be sold on LinkedIn. I think we all get, those in-mails. We get, messages that are sponsored. We get people that are wanting to just meet with us right away when they don't know us at all, right? That kind of stuff doesn't work. Nobody wants to be sold on LinkedIn. So you have to approach it with an educational mindset. The second thing is an experimentation mindset, which is, LinkedIn is changing its features and functions all the time. You're going to want to stack the things that are working, table the things that aren't, and maybe try those later. So that experimentation mindset's important. And then the final thing is really, you have to understand the pains and barriers your prospects are trying to overcome, right? What is it they want to be educated on, and what could you teach, right? What can they learn from you? And I think that's where the real opportunity is to step into that role where you're providing value to your prospects, and you're teaching them things that they would want to learn about, and you're leveraging your knowledge and expertise in whatever area you have that in. So that's really kind of the general philosophy: being authentic and genuine, education, experimentation mindset, and figuring out what it is your audience can learn from you. So that's the philosophy of how you can really succeed on LinkedIn. So then underneath that is around audience and audience building. So we have to start identifying our prospects on LinkedIn. I'm typically using Sales Navigator for that. I'd say about half of my clients have Sales Navigator, the other half don't. Sales Navigator is the sales tool that LinkedIn built to help you start building out lead lists and account lists and things like that on LinkedIn. I use that the majority of the time. Now, as I've been thinking about audience intent, there's a couple of growth hacks that you and your audience could try. One is LinkedIn events. So if one of your direct competitors is putting on a LinkedIn event, or maybe there's an industry organization that's putting on a LinkedIn event around a topic that your business solves for, if you go and attend that event, you can see everyone else that's also attending the event. And you could actually start building out a prospect list of people that are attending the event that are within a certain geography, within a certain industry, with certain titles, because they're publicly raising their hand and saying, this is who I am, and I'm interested in learning about this topic. So you could actually start identifying people that are further down the funnel through other LinkedIn events on LinkedIn. Another is using a person as a proxy. So there's a woman on LinkedIn. She's got about 70,000 followers, and she's always talking about, LinkedIn posting and profile and whatnot. And I connected with her, and because her connections are open, I can look and say, okay, I want to connect with everybody that's a first connection to her, but is a second connection to me that has the title of, a founder or owner, or maybe they have a sales title. But these are all people that are following her because they're trying to learn how to grow on LinkedIn, and they're probably good candidates for Rainmaker. So I'm using her as a proxy. So those are a couple ways of kind of growth hacking LinkedIn.
Can you use Sales Navigator to identify these LinkedIn influencers? I guess they would be called.
You can in certain ways, yes. Um, but there's also, other ways of just like looking at, through Google and doing searches on Google, around certain types of like thought leaders, around certain topics, is another good way to start identifying people. But yeah, you can target, other people on LinkedIn, through Sales Navigator, with a lot of, different filters, and some of those has to do with like if they've posted in the last 30 days, how active they are.
Yeah,
But
actually,
part of it for me is, I saw that she was doing a LinkedIn event, and because she's using those LinkedIn events as a way to show her thought leadership, that was a way for me to kind of hone in on her. So I think, again, using LinkedIn events is another great way to kind of identify those people. So
and
um,
I don't know if
yeah.
you're going to cover this, but do you need to be a contact with somebody for what you're describing? Like, so you identify people in Sales Navigator. Is the
Mhm.
first step always you have to be a direct contact for the process that you're
Yeah, if you're identifying someone as a proxy, you have to be a first connection with them in order to see who they're connected to, and they have to have their connections open. So if they close their connections and don't allow people to see that, you won't be able to see it even through Sales Navigator.
I meant generally, just for everything you're going through here.
Oh, yeah, no, no, no. So that's one of the benefits of Sales Navigator. And you can also use regular LinkedIn search. It doesn't have the same amount of filters, as Sales Navigator, and you can't save your searches. But yes, within Sales Navigator, you can identify people that are first degree, second degree, third degree, connections to you. And you can look around geographies, industry, title, company size. Yeah, a lot of different filters that you can use. Yes. So, yep. And so that's very typical that, for me, I'll focus in on, like sales executives here in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. And I'll starting to connect with them. And So yes, yep. It's a great tool for starting to hone in on people that aren't, connected to you yet. So good questions. So we talked about the philosophy, we've talked about audience, and now that you've started to identify audiences you want to connect with, you have to activate the audiences. So what, kind of the foundation of, um, what you want to set up is creating more first degree connections. And so what I do is, I set it up where, let's say we create an audience of 1,000 people that we want to connect with. We'll start reaching out to connect with those people, 25 people a day, Monday through Friday during normal working hours. So 125 people a week, 500 people a month. You're typically going to get about a 20-ish% connection rate back. If you're, above 25%, you're doing a really good job. If you're, in the low teens to high single digits, you'll probably want to think about a newer list, a fresh list. But generally speaking, with any Sales Navigator list you build out, there LinkedIn's algorithm kind of front loads, better contacts, on the front end of the list. So you usually see some, degraded performance over time, with the list that you build out. But generally speaking, you should be connecting at around a 20% clip. We're very rarely using connection messages. So we're almost always just asking, we're just trying to connect with people with no connection message. And then if someone doesn't connect within 30 days, then we'll withdraw the invite or rescind it. And again, all of these things are things you could go and do in LinkedIn right now. You could go and see all these old invites that you've sent out, and you should probably withdraw those. Number one, it's good hygiene. Number two, there's a 3-week period of time in which you can't re-invite someone. So you got to wait at least 3 weeks before you could re-invite them to connect. So essentially what we're doing is just kind of creating these pools of people that we could reach back out to at a later date. Okay. The other thing is, I think a lot of people undervalue the value of a first connection on LinkedIn. When you get a first connection with someone, they are, opting in to be connected to you. And then it opens up really a whole world of opportunities in how you can engage with this person through LinkedIn. And we're going to talk about some of those ways. But I would much rather have a first degree connection with someone on LinkedIn than even their email. I think a LinkedIn connection is undervalued, and we'll talk about some of the strategies on how you can start interacting with these new first connections now. So that foundation of kind of ever growing your first degree network. So every time you do some of these strategies I'm about to talk about, you'll have a larger pool of people in which you can draw from. And again, if you're doing a good job in building out, your audiences, it should be a larger pool of people that are your ideal client profiles, right? That you're continuing to engage with in hopefully meaningful ways. So one of the typical campaigns we'll run is a messaging campaign, where after someone connects back with you, 1 to 3 days later, we'll send out a message, and it should be just a thanks for connecting message. You should not be selling anything. You shouldn't even be trying to help. You should just thank them authentically for the connection. And so, for me, using those sales executives that live in the Twin Cities here where I live, my connection message would be like, "Hey, John, thanks so much for connecting. Always fun connecting with fellow salespeople in the Twin Cities," right? Something like that, where it's authentic. Yes, all these new connections I'm getting in that specific vertical are getting the same message, but it's also a little bit customized to them. And I'm not doing anything but just thanking them for the connection. Then if they respond, it just shows up in my LinkedIn inbox, and I can carry that conversation off and do, to wherever that goes. If they don't respond, then 7 to 14 days later, I'll send out a second message, right? So to that audience, my second message was just saying like something to the effect of, "Hey, John, wondering if there's any, local networking events that you would recommend," something like that, right? Where I'm just trying to build a little bit of relationship. I really love going to networking events, so it's information that would be helpful to me as well, and see what kind of events these salespeople would recommend. But that second message and beyond is really where you want to ask a salient question. Maybe there's an asset that you built out that you want to share, or maybe a third party built out an asset you think they would find being high value. Maybe there's a LinkedIn poll you want to invite them to, or a LinkedIn live stream that you're doing that you want to invite them to, right? So there's all these different things you can start to layer in to start building relationship with your prospects. So again, with these sales executives here in the Twin Cities, my message after asking them about any networking events they'd recommend, I invited them to participate in a LinkedIn poll that I created that was geared towards salespeople and kind of their frustrations in utilizing LinkedIn. And I think I was reaching out and connecting with like 300, 400 salespeople here in the Twin Cities. I think I had at one point like 175 of them connected back with me. And then when I sent out the poll, I got 36 of them to participate in the poll. And then like a week and a half ago, I published a LinkedIn live stream teaching sales executives how to grow their network leads and sales using LinkedIn as a live stream this morning. And I got 44 of them to register for the event this morning. And so you can kind of see what I'm doing is, I'm identifying an audience. I'm connecting with that audience. I'm starting to build out messaging in an authentic way, in an educational way. As we know, it takes like 7 to 11 touch points before someone that doesn't know you at all starts to trust you and see you as a viable resource. And that's the beauty of LinkedIn. If you have someone's email, all you can do is just email them, right? When you have someone's LinkedIn as a first connection, you can direct message them. You can, invite them to participate in something like a LinkedIn poll. With LinkedIn live streams, there's an actual like LinkedIn event invite function. And that's what we use when we invite people to like the live streams, where we're using that, and it comes in as an alert to someone's profile. So it doesn't show up as a direct message. It comes in as an alert. So it's a nice soft touch. It's just another way to kind of invite them to participate, with you. And what I also really like about LinkedIn live streams is that, um, as anyone that sits in a sales seat, especially with B2B, meetings are really important, right? Nobody's going to buy from us until we, at least have one meeting with them. And one of the common things that I'll do with the LinkedIn live streams is I'll follow up with all of the attendees after the event. And I'll say like, hey, John, thanks again for registering for the LinkedIn live stream I hosted. Here's a link to the recording, right? And so it'll link back to the event page where the live stream was, and the recording lives there forever. And underneath it are different calls to action. And one of my favorites is just saying, if you ever want to chat LinkedIn strategy, feel free to grab some time convened for you here, and I'll give it my Calendly link. But because of the process and the way that I'm building relationship and using LinkedIn live streams, when someone attends your live stream, clicks the attend button, they're opting into you, right? They're essentially saying, I trust you enough that I'm going to click the attend button. Your topic is interesting enough to me that I'm going to click the attend button. And because they're opting into you, when you follow up with a message after the event is over and you're giving them your Calendly in the way that I explained, it doesn't feel salesy. It doesn't feel spammy. It doesn't feel icky in any way. It's just a natural next step where you're inviting them to schedule a one-on-one if they want to discuss, your areas of expertise in any more detail. And I think that's the beauty of, using live streams, using polls, direct messages, and it's allowing you to interact with people in different ways, where each time you're able to kind of show your value, your authenticity, you're truly wanting to help. And so those are very specific activities that I would recommend people start implementing. We're not going to really spend any time talking about the organic side, but one of the benefits of everything that I'm talking about is that when you do post anything, organically on LinkedIn, well, now you have a larger audience of ICPs that might see your post. Now you have the opportunity for people to see your posts in ways that marry up nicely with these other strategies that are much more direct. And so they really play off of each other, I think, really, 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 really well.
Do you find that these strategies are fairly consistent over time? Because obviously there are a lot of people who are not following this process and going directly to, oh, wow, you accepted me as a contact. Boom, I want to say this and this and that,
right.
And that's, the first step. So given the amount of automation and ability to target, do you find that the increase of that side is impacting the strategy you're saying, or not really?
No, what I will say is being a lazy salesperson, I get it all the time. Like, I'm blocking probably 2 or 3 people, a week, where, they're just reaching out and trying to sell me something. And, I just block. You're done. I mean, it's just lazy salesmanship. So, one of the things that, I've noticed is people that I have as clients, some of them are, salespeople and have been for decades, or they're marketers and have been for a long time. Um, I think everybody wants to shortcut success, and I get it. Like, when you sit in a sales seat, if you're, a salesperson or a founder or whatever, a marketer, like, you want to close deals, you want to generate revenue, you want to have success. You have to somehow emotionally distance yourself from that, and just know that the work you're putting into the process that I've described is what's going to work over the mid and long term, and that you're going to continue to impact people in a positive way, where they're going to start seeing you as a viable option for hiring you for whatever it is that you provide. And I'm not saying that some of the tools out there you shouldn't leverage. So one of the things that I noticed is that I had a decent amount of clients coming to me and saying, "Hey, Colin, what do you think of these messages that I wanna send through Rainmaker?" And sometimes I'd look at them as like, "Oh my gosh, these are horrible," and they're not going to go over well. And so I'd have to kind of push back. Well, I ended up like 4 months ago, building out my own like Rainmaker Messenger GPT, where I've created all these rules essentially within it, which is about the philosophy that we talked about, is about not being salesy. And so I created this kind of GPT that I don't make any money on it or anything like that, but I have my clients go through the process, and it helps them build out their first 2+ messages for any discrete campaign that they want to run. And one other quick thing that I'll say that has been really, really helpful for me is also breaking up my audience by different verticals. So I'm going after sales executives, founders, EOS implementers, business coaches, fractionals, right? So these are different groups I'm going after. And so I'm building out first connections with these different groups. Well, when I want to send a direct message, or when I want to invite them to a poll, or when I invite them to a live stream, it's very specific to that audience. And for an example, with like the LinkedIn live streams, even though my content is like 95% the same on the different live streams that the general live stream that I do, I'm marketing it to a specific group. So when the sales executives land on the event page, it'll say, LinkedIn, webinar, learn how to grow your network leads and sales using LinkedIn. But in the middle, it'll say like for sales executives, right? If I'm going after founders, in the middle of the image, it says for founders, right? So what I'm doing is I'm getting very specific in the audience, and I'm tailoring it by either industry or by title. So when they get to the event page, not only is the topic compelling, but then they also feel like it was built just for their industry or for their title, right? And so those are easy tweaks that you can do that will get you a much higher rate, I think, of acceptance when you are putting out these kinds of campaigns.
What's the minimum time from making the first, or them accepting you as a contact, to inviting them to a live stream or something like that?
I think you could do it pretty much as soon as you want, because when you get a first connection, they're accepting the connection, and then that's done. When you invite them to a live stream event, that's getting commingled with all the other alerts that they're getting, right? So they might get alerts of other events. They might get alerts for people that want to invite them to follow their company page or whatever. Like, so they're getting these, or invite them to like an article, right? So they're getting these other alerts. So it's just one of the alerts that they see. And if the topic is compelling, like they're clicking on the link, they're at the event page, they're deciding if they want to click attend or not. So no, to me, there's no reason not to start inviting people using the LinkedIn event invite function, pretty quickly after them becoming first connections. Um, you just don't want to burn them out. So like those verticals that I told you that I go after, I'm inviting those same verticals to the same live stream that I'm doing once every probably 6 to 8 weeks, right? And I've had some people sign up for 3 or 4 in a row of the exact same live stream, because either they couldn't make it a previous one or they wanted a refresher. So that's part of the beauty too of doing the live streams, is if you can pick out like evergreen content, something that you could talk about over and over again for, let's say, the rest of 2025. Because then, like this morning, I think I went live, or I jumped on to StreamYard to do my live stream 2 minutes before I went live, because I already know my content. I've done it dozens of times at this point, and I know what I'm going to talk about. And so that's the other benefit, is that you're not having to think of new content all the time. When you're doing a live stream, hopefully you're picking out a nice, um, you know, um, topic that your audience will find value in, throughout the rest of the year.
For people just starting, what's the minimum amount of people you would do the live stream for?
Well, when I first started doing it at the beginning of last year, there was I was getting like 2 or 3 people to sign up. And I know there were times when nobody was there and I was just talking to myself, but that doesn't matter. Like, as you know, at some point you just have to start, and, and like there's some tuition you got to pay. Right. And the tuition is, I got to figure out how to use StreamYard or some other type of live stream product. I have to figure out how to build out the LinkedIn, live stream event. I got to build out my deck. I got to invite people to it. So, there's just you just you need to believe in it as a sales strategy, and and then just adhere to it, stick to it. And I'm doing it once a week now. I've done it once a week so far this year, and you don't need to do it that often. But if you're doing it every other week or once a month, like just start doing it. Get comfortable with the process, and just know right at the very beginning, yeah, you might not have a lot of people attending, but that's okay. Um, I think if people listen back on the some of the strategy, I can guarantee if you are targeting specific verticals with a topic that they care about, and you're building out first connections, because that's on LinkedIn, you can only invite first connections to your live stream. I can guarantee you will get attendees. And as you grow your audience out, I can guarantee that the attendees will continue to grow over time. So yeah, beginning of last year, like I said, yeah, 2 or 3, and now I'm probably averaging, 40 to 140 every single time I do it.
Is there a number of connections, first connections, that someone should aim for or have? I mean, obviously it's as many as possible, but to think that these strategies would have the most impact?
Yeah. So the bigger audience, the bigger the audience you can get of like real ICPs, the better it is. I think you're capped at like 30,000 connections. And I've been doing this stuff, Rainmaker's, a little over a year old or around a year old, but I've been doing this stuff for myself for like 7 years. And I think my connections are around like 6,000 maybe. So I still have a long way to go. It's they talk about like quantity and quality. You want to be somewhere in the middle, right? You don't want your quality to be so poor that the people you're talking to will never buy from you, but you don't want to spend so much time thinking about quality that you're not getting enough quantity of people to like actually drive business revenue and actual create leads. So I would say kind of be right in the middle around quantity and quality. You have to get to at least 500 connections or more. If you don't have at least 500 connections, LinkedIn will show how many connections you have. They'll say, oh, you have 341 connections. That looks crappy. Like anybody on LinkedIn, if you're at all serious about LinkedIn, you're going to have more than 500 connections. So you got to get over 500. But once you get over 500 connections, I think it's just really honing in on those audiences you want to get in front of, and building out first connections, and then starting to layer in some of the content strategies that we talked about and how you start to engage.
And is there any, in this process, does it ever get to a point where you do direct sales email or message?
There can be, yes. So what I would do is, try and, try and make it as, customized as you can. So for example, one of the things that you could do, and that is actually on my to-do list, I haven't done this yet, but one of the things that I want to do is say, okay, of all the sales executives that have attended my live stream since last year, I can go to each of those events. I can pull all the attendees. Well, then I could send like a direct message to all of them and say, hey, John, you had attended one of the live streams that I had done, around growing your LinkedIn growing your network leads and sales on LinkedIn. Just want to let you know that we're offering like a 20% discount on Rainmaker for anyone that's attended one of our growth live streams in the past. So I haven't done anything like that, but yes, you could absolutely do something like that, because it's nothing that you're going to be doing a lot, but if you want to do some discrete tests and see if you can get some response and do a little bit more direct sales, yeah, sure, you have that opportunity to do that with the first candidate. You just want to do it in a way where you're not burning that bridge with someone where they just feel like you're just starting to sell me. That doesn't feel good. So
Right.
I think you need to, but yes. And, but maybe there's other ways too of, maybe you have some type of like a free audit, or you have some type of some type of an offer that you're giving people is kind of a next soft, touch that is kind of leading them down that kind of path toward eventually having a conversation or buying from you.
But it sounds like the more authentic interactions, or interactions that are not purely sales, that they've seen associated with your name,
yep,
it facilitates the final process.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it goes back to those multiple touches. If they see that, wow, like Colin is,
he's working.
Yeah, he sent me to this, he invited me to this poll. I participated in it. It was cool. He gave me some, broke down, the results of the poll in ways that were interesting. I shared that with my boss, and then he invited me to a live stream, and, I ended up watching, 10 minutes of that and thought it was interesting. And, he direct messaged me with this asset that his company had built out, that was really, useful. Like you're starting to build up yourself as like a thought leader. And it just makes it a lot more easy, number one, for those people to take action and feel confident contacting you if they need help. Number two, I think you'd be surprised. Like I've gotten some referrals from people that, they didn't specifically buy from me, but they referred someone to me because I was kind of top of mind for them. So yeah, I think there's kind of cascading benefits to just continuing to add value to the LinkedIn ecosystem in the ways that we've been talking about.
And do you want to say anything about how Rainmaker works, or
yeah, I mean, really, all I'm doing with Rainmaker is just kind of automating out some of the tasks that we talked about, like reaching out to the 25 a day. It's doing that automatically. Sending out the messages, it's doing that automatically. The LinkedIn event invites, the messages after an event. Like we're automating out a lot of those kind of monotonous tasks that you would do anyway, but we're doing it in a way that is still, staying under LinkedIn limits. So if I'm going out, or my clients are going out to in-person networking events, whatever, they can still connect with people. So I don't, in whether someone is doing it manually or with Rainmaker, you don't want to spam LinkedIn. You don't want to take advantage of the ecosystem. You want to, really focus in on providing value. And that's really what Rainmaker does. It's just everything's happening within LinkedIn. Nothing's really happening outside of it. And yeah, it's just a pretty simple process that's very transparent. The model is, it's like a white glove SaaS. The clients work with me, and the process and software work in the background. And I'm the only person in the company. Yes, I have business partners, but I'm the only one that's active in it right now. And yeah, it's going great. So yeah, people can certainly reach out to me if they have questions. I'm more than happy to chat with anybody. If you go to rainmakergrows.com, you can click on the free consultation button. That just books time on my Calendly. So I'd be happy to chat with anybody about any specifics that they might, questions that they might have.
Or they can connect with you and join one of the many live streams.
For sure. Absolutely. Yep. I'm the only Colin Hirdman on the internet. So easy to find me. Yep.
Excellent. Well, Colin, thank you very much for breaking apart this, I think what sometimes feels like a impenetrable process for for many people starting out. So thanks for breaking that down, and appreciate having you on the show.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me, John. I really appreciated sharing what I know, and yeah, hopefully people find value, and I can guarantee that the process works. So yeah, follow the process, whether you use Rainmaker or not, it'll work.
Excellent. So, and to everyone in the audience, if you have any thoughts on LinkedIn and the show, please share in the comments and like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks again. Bye.